ビデオの容量で再開しました。
Hi. So thank you. So this is the second part of the today's lecture, and so now I want to introduce Mr. Mustafa to also continue the previous discussion, and we will try to give you some kind of comparison or relationship. Although the colonization happened in the Africa, also in the Asia, you can find there are lots of similarities of this colonization. And that colonized country, the one fundamental similarity, they all are the poor country.
Yeah.
So we will try to discuss a bit more about this issue. So Mustafa, can you talk about the Africa's case?
Yes. So I don't know. Shall we continue directly because we give them time for the assignment, or is an assignment for today and they will?
Yes. So after the class, so they will get some time for the assignment.
Okay.
So we may not need to stop here. So
Okay.
For the class, we will give them the time.
Okay. Then okay. So it's okay to remove.
Yeah,
this.
you can remove this part.
Okay.
Just keep that one.
Okay.
So please understand this quiz and send us within 1 week. And we provide the instruction in the Moodle how you can send this assignment.
Mustafa, don't you show some picture?
Yeah, but later I will explain a bit.
Okay.
I'm going.
Thank you.
So can I have this? So now I will talk about another effect of how the colonization affect the African countries. So one of the main things that colonization was try not to do or try to stop the people from doing is the most basic human, one of the most basic human rights now, what we call it education. So in Egypt, now we have, until now, we have literacy rate of 70%. So 70% of the people who are living in Egypt are having education and are educated. So let me write down. So why, compared to Japan, and what I hear about Japan, Japan is almost 100% educated, everybody.
Yeah, that's right.
So why 70% only of Egyptian people are educated? So what happened is that when colonization come to Egypt, colonization start not to educate everybody. So for them, the main goal for them, not to educate everybody, because if the people are educated, the people will try to call for liberation and they try not to be colonized anymore. So for them, it's very important not to educate everybody in the country. So what happened is that, why Egypt has 70% only literacy rate? The problem here is that they try to make only maybe top-notch people in the country educated, the people who have a bit of connection with colonization, or people will make use of colonization, the colonization can make use of them, and the rest of the people not educated. So why 70%? Now, after the colonization, we are Egypt got its independence in 1952. And when we got our independence, education became compulsory for everybody. So everybody has to be educated. So why 70%? Where is this 30% come from? This 70% come from the old people who were not educated at that time. So when Egypt got independence, everybody was educated. But the remaining 30% is the people who are age 70 and above. So,
you should say this 70% of literacy rate is current, yeah?
yeah, current.
Then
Yeah.
all the time, how was it then?
All the time, it
For
is,
instance,
this-
when you guys become independent, what was the literacy rate?
it is less than 20%, Professor.
Very rigorous ですね。田辺君、明治時代の識字率ってどのくらいかしてる日本で？明治時代。
So now we have 70% now. But when we got independence, it was only 20%. And the rest of these people, 80%, who are still alive now and still didn't get education. So the people who are over 60 or 70 years old now, they are the people who didn't get education at that time. And that's why we're still suffering from this with low educational
Literacy rate. Bangladesh literacy. You should write literacy.
literacy.
Did you explain?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so although two very different countries, right? This is Egypt. This is the case of the Bangladesh.
Before independence.
Before
You should write.
independence,
Mm,
yeah.
You should write.
Okay, so just try to compare the story of these two very far continents, Africa, Asia. This country is Egypt, this country is Bangladesh. Only the similarity, both was the colonized by some country.
The United Kingdom, you guys are colonized both, same country.
Yeah,
no?
same country. Yeah.
British.
Yeah, we both was colonized by the same country,
Mm.
British. And then the situation for the literacy, it happens in the similar intensity. So if you see that they destroy the education system in a way, so when the country get the independence, so only the literacy rate was 20%. And similarly, so when Bangladesh, actually this is the literacy rate when Bangladesh get independence from the Pakistan. So when they get from the
So
British,
you should say at the independence.
So the year, you can write the year.
this is
It is before, it is before. Very rigorous. By hand erase.
at independence,
Independence in when you guys independent?
1971.
I see.
So at that time, so the literacy rate was 25% only. But this literacy rate now increasing because of lots of good initiatives by our government, right? I think this is also a similar story for the Egypt. But if you see the previous history, the literacy, which is one of the most fundamental demand for the human civilization, so these poor areas miss that part, and that's how they was ahead, they was behind, right?
Mm.
Compared to many other countries for a very long time.
Mm.
So this is maybe one of the very important points
Mm.
why this education has we can see very clearly
Mm.
how important the education itself for the development to
Yeah.
reduce the poverty.
Yeah, yeah.
And now we are getting better because we are increasing our education system.
Professor, I think you can, yeah.
じゃあ皆さん、ほら、エジプト、はい、コロナイズ植民地化されてました。で、1952年に独立、その時の当時のリトラシーレートが、20%、リトラシーレートとは識字率、読み書きができるということですね。でですね、皆さん、日本がどれだけ、ですね、このリトラシーレートで、識字率で恵まれていたかといったらですね、やっぱり日本が爆発的に良くなったのは明治維新のおかげだと言わざるを得ません。明治維新で頑張った人たちのおかげで明治のその政治家たちは賢かったから教育を義務化したことによって明治の後期の時代には 98% の識字率を日本はもう達成している。皆さんですね、結構きついものがあるんですよ。読み書きができないといろんな意味で。想像できますか？お父さんやお母さんが読み書きできないんですよ。いろいろコミュニケーションで困ることたくさんあるんです。 で読み書きができないということは何かというと、本や活字を通して文化を伝播できないわけですよ。でそうなるだけですごい損失なんですよ。日本の場合は識字率をある一定以上ずっと担保してたので、紫式部の「源氏物語」とかなんとかのなんとかのなんとかなんとかとか、そう古い読み物から、まあ、例えばいろんな詩や、まあ、俳句なんかがずっと何千年前からずっとあるわけですね。で私がですねこの植民地化されている国々に行って思うのは、この低い識字率のせいでですね、日本が蓄積しているような日本昔話的な本がですね、本屋に行ってもほとんどないわけです。それなんでって言われたらですね、植民地化されたことで分断されてるんですよ。識字率を低く抑えられてるんですよ、意図的に。教育を与えすぎると生意気なやつになるから、絶対に教育を与えないわけです、植民地化政策。その結果、独立した瞬間にエジプトは 20% の識字率で、バングラの場合はイギリスから独立しパキスタンから独立した時には 25% の識字率。 4人に1人しか読み書きができない、こういう状態です。はて、こういう低い識字率から世界を驚かせるような研究や文学が生まれると思いますかということですね。皆さん、ロシアやフランス、イギリスで、日本もですけど、ノーベル文学賞とかすごい研究やってるカントリーありますよね。やっぱりそういう国々は何が素晴らしいかというと、昔から崩されない一貫した文化の蓄積があると言われています。一つの言語によっていろいろな美しいものの形や考えをずっと世代から世代をこうやってバーってやる。ところが一旦植民地化された国というのは意図的に読み書きができないような状態にグラッと抑えられる。でモスタファさんはまだ言ってませんけれども、でもっとひどい場合は not only about writing and listening writing の読み書きなんかよりももっとひどいことをするわけです。何をするかといったらですね、彼らの言葉を禁じるわけです。はい。でまあいろいろあるんですが、まあ、とにかく低い識字率なんですね、植民地化されている国という。でもそこから自分たちが独立を勝ち取ったら、識字率が今バングラの場合25から65に増えて、でエジプトの場合は20から70でも100ではない。それはなぜかといったら、この時代に生まれた人がまだ生き残ってるからです、現代で。将来的には It will be almost 100 です、It will be almost 100。 それでも3分の1前後はまだ読み書きできない人が現地に残ってるんですよ。例えばバングラディッシュに旅するとですね、リキシャープーラーといってこう人力車でこう職業をやってる人なんかは結構読み書きができなかったりする。そういうことです。でまあこういったことをですね考えていくと、どれだけ植民地化されるということが文化伝播に大きな影響があるかと。皆さん、日本にはたくさん親が子供に読み聞かせるような物語って腐るほどありますよね。桃太郎だとか、なんか金太郎のなんとかだとか、ガラガラ丼のなんとかだとか、腐るほどちっちゃい子供向けの本がたくさんありますよね。じゃあああいうちっちゃい日本昔話的な物語が他の国にも同じ数分だけ揃ってるかといったらですね、私はそれは揃ってないというのが答えだと思ってます。多くの国々に行ってですね、一つ気づいたこと、日本で当たり前にあるような物語や文化伝播というのは他の国々では全く当たり前に行われていない。その理由がここにあるわけです。いいですか。もう明治時代の後期には日本は 98% の識字率を誇ってたんですよ。でその前からもずっと「源氏物語」とかいろんな物語がずっと連綿として続いてきてた。ところが植民地化されるともうガッと押される。このね影響は相当にでかい。皆さん、植民地化される一つの意味、まあここでお分かりになっていただきたいと思います。Right, go ahead.
Thank you. So one thing I want to you guys to check in the online today. So please check the education level in the developed countries, in USA, in England, in the EU, and all the developed countries. you can see almost all the developed countries, education level is almost 100%, right? And if you see the education level in Africa and Asia, basically the Southeast Asia and Asia, most of the countries, the education level is like a 65%.
What do you mean by education level?
So actually the education level is, they consider just they can write
Then
and
will
read.
please say literacy rate for
Literacy.
consistency.
Yeah. Okay, so let me become more consistent. So the literacy rate is very, very low still. So I think this is one of the main contrast we can see. But of course, this is literacy rate. It seems like a high, but this literacy rate means that they can only read and write. It doesn't mean that they go to the university or they have the higher education, right? So if you consider higher education, the level is much lower.
Yes, I agree with Minor and I agree with Professor. And this, one of the main things why the capital accumulation never happened in Africa. So, education, one of the main basic things that will accumulate capital for human beings and will make the people able to produce something better, think about the problems in the life better. So this kind of things has never accumulated for many years. So as we said, like in Egypt, almost 71 years, in Bangladesh, 200 years. So long period of time have a long effect that continues for many years after even the colonization left the country. So another point, and one of the main points also that colonization affected the countries. Let me put it down. So, the second point that I want to talk about, how the colonized country or colonizing country, they are not caring about or not developing the infrastructure of the country, or develop the infrastructure of the country that they need to take the resources of the colonized country. So what happened actually in Egypt, as I told you, Egypt was colonized for 71 years. All this kind of long time, they never cared about the roads, they never cared about water, they never cared about any of the infrastructure. What they care about, how to develop a real way that can take the resources of Egypt and all the African countries to England. And I can show you, maybe I will open this for a second.
Okay. Turn off.
Oh.
Is it going?
Yeah, it's good. Still, yeah. So one of the main projects that the colonization wanted to do in Africa, especially the English colonized, they wanted to build a railway from Cape Town to Cairo. Why is this? So railway will go all the way. I don't know if you can see from the.
What is this railway thing?
Hmm?
This might be the first time for me to see this map.
No, last year I didn't show, but I had it, but I didn't show it.
I see.
But the railway was wanted to go from all the way there to go up to the Cairo. Why is this? Because they were colonizing here. They will colonize South Africa. They will colonize Egypt. And what they want to a way that can take all the resources from all these countries to Cairo, and from Cairo they will go to England by ship. So the main idea is not to develop a railway for developing these countries. The idea was how to take the resources and how to take the from Cape Town. There are a lot of gold and diamonds all over Africa. There are a lot of different mines. Even here in Mozambique, I think there are a lot of gold and diamonds. So the goal of making the infrastructure is how to take the resources of the countries and take it to England. So that's one of the main things that I want to say from infrastructure.
Should I explain?
Yeah.
Alright. まあ、モスタファさんが言ってるのはここでインフラストラクチャーって言いますよ。インフラストラクチャーとは何かというと、まあ、皆さんのご存知の通りダムとか、道路とか鉄道とか、まあ、要は社会のインフラとなるようないろんな大規模な工事を要する施設ですよね。でですね、植民地化されると何がやばいのかって言ったらですね、このインフラがですね、誰のために作られるかが目的が歪んでくるんです。はい。いろんなインフラがありますが、本来の目的は何かですから、その国の人々はその国を豊かにするためにインフラが作られるべきだというのが今の当たり前の考えですよね。帝国主義時代のインフラは意味が違います。いかに宗主国、皆さん宗主国、ホストカントリーですね、支配する国に都合よく資源をホストカントリーに運ぶためにインフラを作るかが重要になってきます。作った農作物、そこにある金銀、その他石油などの資源、そういったものをどうやってホストの国にガーンと運ぶかっていうことが一番の重要なインフラの役割になります。そういったインフラは果たしてその現地の人々にとって有益なものなのかというと、そういうふうには作られてない。そうやって作られなかったことがむしろ植民地化される国々にとっていろんな悲劇を生むんだというふうに言っているのが今のモスタファさんの弁です。
So I think also Manuel can say something about Southeast Asia here.
Yeah, so although I don't have the any figure like that, but if you just search in the Google, you can see that almost the railway infrastructure was made in the Indian subcontinent through the India, Bangladesh and the Pakistan in a way that this kind of natural resources like the gold and other mining resources, so this coal can be easily transported to the nearest port, and from the port it can go to the England. So although there are lots of arguments, many people argue that okay, making this kind of infrastructure was very useful for the development of this country. But I want you guys to understand the real reason. Then you can think about it. Okay, so this infrastructure was not actually built for the welfare or the development of these African countries, or also not for the South Asian countries. It's all made due to for their own welfare, their own betterment. So this is a very much similar things for the colonized countries in that context. So you can see the contrast, you can see the similarity very clearly. So how they impose the poverty in these areas.
Okay. So let me go to the third point because I don't want to maybe this guy. Okay. So the third point that I want to talk about also the agricultural policy. So
But don't you talk about the language thing?
yeah, I will talk about it as
Okay,
the
human
last,
capital?
the last one that is recovery of identity and human capital.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it.
So agriculture policy. So agriculture policy is one of the things that all our countries, and I think India and all the countries will agree upon how they treat the agriculture sector at these countries. So for example, Egypt is very famous by cotton. So
Write down Egypt cotton.
yeah. In the agriculture policy, let me take up Egypt. So, one of the most, or one of the very good crops that Egypt was producing is cotton. Cotton, you know what's cotton used for? Cotton used for making clothes, for making nice clothes. And this kind of cotton, what they did, they make Egypt as a big farm for England to take the cotton or the raw material cotton from Egypt to England to make nice clothes in England. So what they try to do is to make all the countries, all the colonized countries, as a kind of their farm, just a farm, to take the things from the country to the host country or the country that is colonized or colonized country. So another one, maybe I will talk about this bit more because this is very brutal. So Congo. One of the crops in Congo called rubber. So rubber was coming from one tree that's growing naturally in Congo. And the Congo are full of this tree. And what they did, they make all the people, one of the most brutal colonization in the world was the Belgian colonization. And the one king called Leopold or something, Leopold II. And this king came all the way from England, from Belgium to Congo to take the rubber. And they make the Belgium Congo company or something. Like East India or something company. So, and they make this. And what they do, they enslave all the people inside Congo, ask them to collect the rubber, and if the people don't collect the rubber, what they do? I will show you.
I think it will come.
Okay. So, first, they enslave the. Can I remove this or shall I leave it?
I think you can erase.
Okay. They enslave the people of Congo and they take them in a human zoo. And they show people as kind of in the zoo and they give them a banana as they are not human. They take them from Congo to Belgium, and it was a very brutal thing that you are displayed as exactly as an animal in the zoo. This is a kind of white people looking at the child and give them like a kind of food. This is one thing. The other thing, and the more brutal than this, is that if the people don't take or don't have enough rubber per day, you see, this is a hand cut. They cut the hand of the individuals who cannot collect enough rubber per day. And these are many incidents, it's not just one incident, it's many incidents that happen in this brutal colonization. So what is the main goal for them is how can we collect or how can we maximize our benefit, whatever the thing is, even we kill the people, even we cut their hands, even we display them in zoos, all of these kind of things for them is justified because we can have a fortune out of this. So I think you can.
まあ皆さん、ちょっと刺激的なあれがあったかもしれませんが、例えば、このアグリカルチャーポリシーというのが言ってるんですが、これは農業政策ですね。で農業政策でどういうことが今行われてたのかというと、その農作物、取れる農作物をこの現地の人が食べるのに作るのではなく、いかにホストカントリーに運ぶのか。そしてそこで農業で働く人たちがまさに奴隷としてずっと使われる。でそういうふうな形でですね、ずっと使われてればですね、生産性もあんまり高まらないんですが、もうそれでも構わない。それで基本的にはこうやって十分に働かない人たちのこう手を切り落とすっていうのがコンゴでは当たり前のように行われてしまった。で、皆さんも今ご存知の通り、ブラック・ライフ・マターといって黒人の命は重要だってアメリカの、運動とかで言われていますが、過去を振り返ればですね、とてつもないようなことが当たり前のようにやられた歴史があるということは認識しておいた方がいいと思います。で、ブラック・ライフ・マターになってですね、 急に何が起こったのかというと、アメリカの方で黒人の命は大事だ運動が起きてるわけで、そうなった時に誰しもが気づくわけです。ベルギーの人もオランダの人も、あれ、そういう俺たちって何百年前かなんかにこんなことやってなかったっけ。そしたら何が起こったのかといったら、実際にベルギーでもオランダとかでも他のヨーロッパの国々でもですね、こういう残虐な行いをしてしまった王様たちの子孫がまだ生き残ってる場合があります。でそういう人たちにとって何が起こったのかといったら、あの時はすまなかったという謝罪を今している状況であります。で実際にこういう残虐な行いをしてしまった人の白人の人たちいるわけですが、その人のあれですよね、モニュメントとかそういったものが撤去されたりっていうのが少しずつ起こっている。でこれはあくまで、どれだけ、植民地化政策の下で行われる農業が非常に非人間的なやり方でこう資源をバッて取って、ポストカントリーに届けるものになってしまっていたのかということの一つの例ですね。ほら、マスターさん。
So, yeah, as Professor explained, so the main goal for them is how can we utilize or how can we maximize the benefit or the outcome from the countries that we are colonizing. So agricultural policy, what affecting this, it does not affect only human, it affects also the land. So these agriculture for many years, the same crops, land productivity will decrease because over the time, they don't care about revitalization or making the land better or making the rural areas better for condition for living. What they care about is just in how many years, how can we maximize or take many resources in the time that we are colonizing these countries. So that was the main goal or the main bad thing in the agriculture policy and how it affect even human life. And one more point that was also very, maybe I will talk about it more.
Agriculture policy finish?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Moiner, do you have anything?
yeah.
Probably Moiner and you bit wrap up maybe human capital part probably next class.
Probably actually because this is a very important part, so we will talk more about the human capital part. But let us wrap up the agriculture part first. So that the case for the Africa that Mustafa explained that okay, the agricultural policy was destroyed in a way that the farmers that actually they want to produce, they was not allowed to produce that thing. They need to produce something for their host country, for the England.
Yeah, that's pretty right.
Mm.
In a colonization.
What
Yes.
kind of crops maybe you?
No. I mean, what they want to produce is prohibited.
By the country.
They were specified what they produce
Yes.
for the host country. That's
Yes.
the main point. Please write down in an explicit way. Agriculture policy under the colonization.
So you can take one line and
No, already the agriculture policy is
yeah,
written.
take just one line from it and you can.
So the agriculture policy under the colonization, the most important feature was farmers were not allowed to produce the crop that they want. The farmers was not permitted to cultivate something.
Instead, they were specified to produce
Yes.
what they produce specific crop that benefit
The
host
host
country.
country.
Please read that.
Okay. So this is one of the very common feature for the agriculture policy under the colonization. And if you also see the history of the agriculture of the South Asia's colonization, although very far, story is very similar. So in South Asia, so we normally eat rice, and our farmers like to produce rice. But during the colonization, so they was forced to produce some crop that is called the nil, and that is one of the color that was used to make the cloths nicer. So Mustafa explained about the Africa's case. So they was producing the cotton
Yeah.
and send it to England for making the cloth itself. But for making the cloth nicer, they also need some color. And for making that color, they force the South Asian farmers to produce that color in their field.
I see.
So you can see this can benefit from the both production to the England, to the host country.
Alright,
So-
let me wrap up. まあ今日皆さん、3つの点をですね、まあいろいろコロナイゼーションについて学んできたと思うんですが、コロナイゼーションそれとまあエデュケーションがいろいろ阻害される、インフラストラクチャーが阻害される、そしてアグリカルチャーポリシーが阻害される。で、アグリカルチャーポリシーの中で端的なのは、自分の国の人たちが自分で育てたいと思うものは生産できずに、ホストカントリーの人たちに指定されたものを生産し、なおかつその生産されたものの多くがですね、ほとんどがホストカントリーに送られる状態、こういうふうになってしまいます。はい、でこうなるとですね、農業も後で言いますが成長できないわけです。さあ農業が成長できないと国は成長するのでしょうか。ここが非常に大きな問いです。ではですね、皆さん次回はですね、この続きをまたやってきますが、次の回が一番もしかすると重要です。特にコロナイゼーションのそのパワティをどのように決定づけてしまうのかという点においてですね。ですので、ぜひ次回の動画もしっかり見るようにしてください。Mustafa, anything? Last word?
Yeah.
That's
So
why we will talk about human capital.
yeah. So now we talked about education, infrastructure, agriculture, and the next lecture I think we will talk about the most important or the biggest influence on the developing countries and how these countries really affect the growth or the developing
Poverty.
countries affect the poverty and make these countries stop or these countries from develop in the future. So next lecture we will talk about human capital and how the host countries affect the human capital in Africa and in Southeast Asia or in South Asia. So and we will see the contrast between the two countries.
Yeah, I think that you can see the similarity,
Yeah, yeah,
very similar.
yeah.
それでは皆さんお疲れ様でした。
ありがとうございます。Thank you very much
ありがとうございます。
for your